What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. I'm joined today by Greg Miller, Justin Davis, and Brian Altano. We've got a great show for you today. Lots of stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about, there's a new Batman game coming out. The Uncharted writers leaving Naughty Dog. But first, breaking news today. Jack Tretton stepping down as president, CEO of Sony Computer Entertainment
there he is,
America.
Big Jack.
He's a friend of yours.
Yeah, big time friend. He's been on Up at Noon. We've interviewed him in New York.
He's been right here in this room.
Yeah. Sat in one of these two chairs.
Yeah.
My butt was in the other one, though, so that's kind of gross.
That's right. I mean, related jokes about Sony.
Right? I covered PlayStation exclusively for IGN for like 6.5 years. I've talked to Jack Tretton a lot. Sad to see him go, but what a time for him to go, right? PlayStation 4 is on top.
That's what I want to ask. It seems like a strange time for me, right? Like, they just launched the PlayStation 4. They're riding this huge wave of success, and he's like, well, I'm out. Like, he didn't want to, like, stick around a little bit longer? Like,
I mean, he stuck around a long time, right? Like 19 years. He's been there since they started Sony Computer Entertainment America.
He was part of the team that launched the original PlayStation.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been around forever. Yeah. He's been there for every console launch. So I think, if anything, you get tired of a job, or you want to go out on a high note, like Seinfeld. Right?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, right.
That's the one that I always go back to.
If he leaves during PlayStation 3 era, it's always going to be, and Sony kind of went through this rough and tumble time, and they turned it around, but they were never great or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And now he
under
gets
the troubled tenure of Jack Tretton.
Yeah.
But no,
then Jack Buser ascends up, and he's the one who saves the day. Jack Buser.
Because not only did he help launch the PS4, but the PS4 is doing phenomenal right now. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's a good. I agree with you. It's a good and a bad time to kind of like push the baby bird out of the nest or whatever. Or maybe he's the bird.
I'm sure he felt... No.
What? Which one's learning to fly?
He would be the bird. He would be leaving the nest. The nest is so...
No, the console's the bird.
Yeah,
so he pushed... but the bird left a while ago.
It was time for the PS4 to fly, and he helped it.
And now it's flying.
And now he's going to build another nest.
I was going to say, and now he's abandoning his nest.
Do we know what nest he's going to?
No, I don't think we do.
But it's like the baby bird's growing up.
He says he's excited for the next chapter in his career.
Zynga.
Yeah. It's impossible. I do think that that's exactly what happened. I think he probably has known for a while, either for personal reasons or professional reasons or whatever reasons, he's like, I feel like my time at Sony's winding down. But you have to get that console launched and established and make sure that, that's set for the next while and you feel responsible for it. Now that that's happened, it seems like a good, if not now, when? Like, when would be the time to go? Not before a console comes out, certainly.
Yeah. Do you remember the name of the gentleman that's replacing him?
Sean
Layton?
That sounds right. Maybe.
Professor Layton?
It's actually Professor Layton.
I can check for you. He's coming over from a division of Sony I'm not familiar with and don't ever.
Sean White.
Yeah.
I thought it was the
Sean
network.
White.
Professional snowboarder.
I thought it was the Sony Entertainment Network.
SN?
Anyway.
I thought so, but I guess I don't remember.
Well, we're about to find out. Everybody.
I just wonder who's going to host their E3 press conference.
Yeah, because his thing at E3 last year was awesome.
He's like a rock star.
Yeah.
He's getting good.
This is also weird. Like this,
this giant face.
I mean, no disrespect. He's just like the legions of PlayStation kids out there like this guy, like think he's cool.
Yeah,
right, man.
Everyone I think likes Jack. I don't know. Like, here might be the thing. You're talking about who will supersede him and come out on the stage at the next conference, right? Yeah. I think in Shuhei Yoshida and Adam Boyes, you have two fan favorites.
Yep.
Like they're people.
The
kids now know them from that sharing video, right? And
yeah.
So if you need somebody who's like, like Shu, don't get me wrong, but sometimes in PlayStation videos they caption Shu when he's speaking in English. So they're like, we understand some of our fan base can't understand Shu all the time. But Adam, could totally come out and be that guy. And be like, what's up, guys? Yeah, we made all these cool games. Like,
you gotta have a dude. It's like Reggie at Nintendo. Yeah. It's like Peter Moore at Microsoft. Like, you gotta have a dude like that can transcend.
Now they need the new dude. They need the new Reggie.
It's funny that that's not their job, right? Like, their job is to be good at business and be very smart at that. But they also need to be able to come out and be charismatic. And the small part that's like 1% of their job is all that like a large part of the fans of that console ever see. Is when they're on stage.
Yeah.
Let's say they were really bad on stage, but he was awesome at the rest of his job. He'd keep his job, right?
Well, for Kaz Hirai was pretty bad on stage.
Sure, that's a great example.
Ridge Racer.
He got better,
guys.
But then they kind of pushed him to the side. So who knows? But it is interesting that like the sort of the company figureheads for Sony and Microsoft have.
Well, yeah. What other in what other industry are CEOs like considered rock stars by the youth of America?
Yeah.
The Utes.
The two Utes.
two Utes.
Anyway. Jack Tretton, what?
That's a good joke. Come on.
I like that. I'll have to wait. I hope so.
That's a My Cousin Vinny reference.
Yeah, you don't get those enough.
To cross that one off for the week.
Yeah, good.
You're always saying we don't make enough My Cousin Vinny references.
That's all you say these days.
It's always in my voice.
Obviously, we wish Jack Tretton the best. our audience is going to miss him a lot. You can tell in the comments.
Yeah.
Whatever.
He'll be okay.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll be following Sony very closely. I also wanted to ask, like, is there weird stuff going on with Sony right now? Like, obviously, the PS4 is a big success, but the Santa Monica layoffs.
Yeah.
There's other things too. Oh yeah, Amy Hennig leaving.
Amy Hennig coming
Naughty
up.
Dog, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Yeah. I don't know. And then Jack Tretton leaves. Is that weird?
I don't know if it's weird stuff it could all be related. It might not all. I don't think Jack leaving has anything to do with that stuff. I think Jack leaving is just like, it's time. I've been at this a long time with one company, and now I want to go out on a high note. Santa Monica layoffs, we've talked before on GameScoop, right? And I talk about it a lot on Beyond, and the fact that I think that video games right now, it's the same cycle over and over again. And I think people see studios build up and then lay people off. And I think that you get to this point, even though Santa Monica is an established studio, God of War has a great track record, they help all these other people make their games and get out, it's still business. And so they see something in this game that they canceled that they didn't like, and then you cancel that game and you're like, now we have all these people who aren't working on anything and can't go help out with unfinished Swan 2.
Sony's such a big company with so many moving parts in it that I think that when you have a couple things happen in 1 week, it looks like a bigger pattern than it actually is.
Right.
It's like when, like Andrew Goldfarb leaves IGN and then like the bagel guy is late and then the thing doesn't work and one of the videos is broken. Everyone's like, oh man, this whole company is falling apart. But really it's 3 isolated incidents out of like thousands of people that work for a giant corporation. So I don't really know how connected the Amy Hennig thing is or the layoff story. It's like, I think what Greg said, like it's actually become almost normal in this industry to build a team, create a game, ship it, and then everyone's gone the next day. I mean, it just happened with Thief, like just a few days ago, and then those guys will move on to another
that's
project.
how it goes, and people get it. Like when we saw the Irrational layoffs, right? There was then immediately a job fair there. Like we need to scoop people up for our next project.
Yep.
It sucks that they have to be like traveling gypsies, but
that's why it's something that Justin and I were talking about the other day. I wonder if the video game industry should be more like the movie industry.
Yeah, I totally think so.
You have a crew that works on a movie, and then when the movie's done, like they go on to their next project, right? They're not like full-time employees.
Do you think as far as unionizing?
I do.
Well, they'd have to do that too, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So you have like a director that runs the movie, and then he brings on his crew, and then they make the game, and then
so it's like you assemble a dream team for each project. Like a director has certain DPs and other key positions that he likes to collaborate with the same people over and over. And then presumably those people that are one step down also have
people they like.
People they like, and then they bring their whole crew with them. You get the one guy, then you get his crew, and then
I guess it's kind of already happens, right?
Sort of.
It happens a little bit, but the issue is it disrupts people's insurance and things like that. Like if there was a union, like the equivalent of like you could have a SAG card or something and just move from project to project. In my opinion, and again, I haven't done like a tremendous amount of research on this, but on the surface of it seems like something that would be healthy for this business. I think.
Sean Layden. Like 30 minutes later, I was able to finally dig through this email. He's currently the Executive Vice President and COO of Sony Network Entertainment International.
It's a very long title.
Very much. Yeah. Luckily, Sony Computer Entertainment America President and CEO is a bit
It's like still half as long as the other one.
Yep.
Anyway, all right, moving on. South Park, The Stick of Truth, was finally released this week.
It's fantastic.
After a very long time.
Yeah.
You guys have both played it.
Yep.
Beaten it. You guys both love it.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. It was one of those I didn't care how nice it was outside kind of games.
Yep.
Where I had to finish it in a weekend. I wanted to keep playing it, and it's Greg and I have talked a lot about.
I like how the B-roll Oransky chooses is the anal rape stuff that's banned in all these countries.
Fair, I chose it.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
I'm still going to blame Mike Oransky.
Yeah, so I mean, South Park does a lot of things right, and it did some stuff for me that I didn't really know it would. Like, for years I've been asking for a 12-hour-long RPG. I think I've said it on this show, and then all these people wrote in and they're like, that's ridiculous. You can't make a 12-hour RPG. You can't establish characters and stuff like that. I'm like, well, why not? Why not strip away a lot of the nonsense that bloats a lot of the things in the RPG genre and just cut it down to what it should be, which is a party with some cool characters and a cool story and a quest and battles that happen sort of randomly and go from there. And you level up and you get new items and stuff like that. Now you couple that with what I think is probably the funniest video game I've ever played.
That's what I want to ask.
I agree.
Are we ready to declare
South
Park: The Stick of Truth is the funniest game ever made?
I think so.
Yeah. Screw you, Portal 2.
I mean, well, okay, whatever.
Monkey Island, I don't know, fill in the game that.
No, that's the thing. Like when I said it, and people were like, "Well, what about these games?" I was like, "Those are also funny. I remember those, but this is funnier."
Yeah.
I can't. Even in Portal 2, I laughed and thought that was so funny. but like I was in hysterics in South Park. There's
Yeah.
like parts where you're literally like it just gets crazier and crazier, and you're doing all this other stuff, but you're still like. I was like in hysterics laughing. About
Greg and I are texting each other, but he's like, "You're about to get to this part, and it's one of the most ridiculous set pieces in video games. And when you get to it, you'll know." And the second I got to it, I was like, "I've never seen anything like that." And I don't even know how they got this past the ESRB here in the United States. I have no idea. When I read all these stories about it getting banned and all over the places, all these different things are getting cut. I was like, I totally get it. But how everything got through here, A-OK, shocking to me.
Yeah.
I am excited to play it. I think what excited me most is in Ryan McCaffrey's review, he says it's like the 18th season of the show, or whatever the next season of the show is. Like there's that much content in it, that many jokes, that many sort of subplots. And
and that's the thing. We're talking about the huge set pieces being funny. It's the one-liners. Like I could ruin. There's so many things that like they just like, oh yeah, blah blah. And you're like, oh, like I was just laughing at it. Like
I love another thing that I love. Again, I haven't had a chance, unfortunately, to play it yet. Did you play it on 360?
I played it on PS3.
I need to borrow a 360 copy from somebody because my PS3 is busted. Or I guess I can just buy it. But I'm very excited for those little details. That's something that you're always going on about and Ryan's always going on about. Like, you can open a random drawer or closet and like it's just, here's 12 more references to 12 episodes
all
of the
the kids' closets are completely not interactive. You open them up and it's just a static shot, but it's a static shot of all these things.
It's an episode guide of all the like crazy adventures they went on before that. And I found myself like, I consider myself sort of a lapsed South Park fan, as in like I loved it for a long time, and then because of whatever, I stopped watching it every week. And their schedule's weird. It's like here's 8 episodes in a row, then we're taking a year off, and then here's 16, and whatever it is. But this felt to me like when I think about this game, it meshes with the show and the movie as part of just this universe. Like it all sort of came together. Like I think about it one and the same, which I can't really say for a lot. Probably maybe anything licensed I've ever played, where I can go, oh, this Lord of the Rings game reminds me of the movie in the same way. Like I remember these Star Wars books are just like the video games or whatever. But South Park, it looks and feels just like the show.
Like that's the benefit of being made by, it's made by Obsidian, but having Matt and Trey so deeply involved that like some people are saying is this like the best licensed game ever? And then it's like, well, there's Batman is a Game of the Year contender, so maybe don't go that far. But I agree with you totally that it feels the most like a part of that universe. Like, I absolutely love the Batman games, but I don't feel like
they're not tied to a movie.
It feels like this other separate thing.
Right, it feels like its own thing. Even though it's the Batman license, it feels like its own thing.
Because Batman
pulled originally from the animated series. Paul Dini in Conroy and Hamill always said, this is the extension of But when they got rid of Dini, they started making things. And now you see in the Mr. Freeze Origin DLC coming out that they're retelling an episode of Batman. It's like really...
Well, because Batman means different things to different people. Like for you, it might be the movies. For you, it might be the comics. For you, it might be the animated series. And for me, it's like action figures I had when I was a kid. It's been splintered off in so many different ways. But South Park is South Park.
I mean, Batman will always be Batman 89.
Exactly. So, but South Park is South Park, and it's these like construction paper characters saying crude things and pooping on each other, and it looks the way it looks, and the game looks the way the show looks. And when you control a character for the first time, and what I really love, little details.
When they bop around.
Yeah, they bop around, but like you can save and you leave, and then you come back and it makes that noise when South Park comes back from commercial.
That guitar riff.
It's like
wow. Okay, I don't know if anyone nailed it.
We're all off there. I can't play guitar.
Yours is like a banjo.
I like a Seinfeld thing going on there, but it comes right back to that, and you have like 2 seconds where you're hanging on the screen. You're like, is the show going to start? Oh, I have to play this. Yeah. It's really cool. So I really dig that about it.
I think, it got great reviews, but one of the criticisms that people did have is it's sort of an RPG light, like it's more like Paper Mario. But for me, that's not a con. For me, that's a pro.
Not at all, Brian was saying he loves it.
I'm not a big JRPG gamer. I am enjoying Bravely Default right now, but generally speaking, that's not a genre I do a lot of. And so that's why, like, whenever someone says, your review was wrong and I'm mad at you, I'm always like, you need to look at it through the lens of your own personal taste.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if someone says, a con of this game is the RPG system's not deep enough, but I'm not looking for a deep RPG system, then I know that I'm probably going to like this game a little more than the reviewer did.
Yeah,
so that's part of what makes me so hyped.
That's actually a lot about why I loved it, was because it takes a lot of the stuff from RPGs and it really boils it down. Like, we've been playing RPGs for so long where you're on a world map and there's a random battle, and during the battle your side character gets poisoned. And then you get out of the battle and you're like, oh, shit, I got to go to an inn. I got to get this guy back to speed. In South Park, 99% of the battles end and then they end. And all the status stuff that happens during the battle, it doesn't matter. Your health gets regenerated. You're not poisoned. There's only one thing in the game that you carry with you outside of the battle.
And it's just for a joke. It's just for a laugh.
And it's AIDS.
I wasn't going to ruin it for you.
Okay. Well,
for me, I mean, this reminds me, the battles in this remind me so much of Costume Quest. And I love Costume Quest.
I love Costume Quest.
And so, playing it and jumping in, and then the added layer of, you're always finding new loot. You get this new sword, is it better than last sword? You get this new hat, is it better than last hat? You go in there, then you get new patches to put on that to augment the equipment, and experimenting with all that, so that at the end I was doing plus 80 fire damage every time I just punched someone. I was like, this is awesome.
And the world's covered in side quests and really cool little things to do. And you can never really tell if you're wasting your time doing them or if they're part of the quest. It does this really good thing where it weaves everything together. We're like, I guess I'll collect all 5 of the underpants. Oh, wait, I had to do that. Well, I was doing that anyway.
Yeah,
Great. Yeah. Now I'm done. Oh, I guess I'll go fight Man, Bear, Pig. Oh, that was a side quest to get a special item or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's great. And it doesn't beat you down too much with this best of greatest hits roll of stuff you'd expect from the show. I thought it was going to be here's Saddam Hussein, here's Satan, here's Tawali, and it weaves all the references in very naturally.
Matt tried too good for that.
Yeah,
It seems like it's a phenomenal success.
Yeah.
All around.
Only things I don't like are the fart tutorials that you sit there. It's no, do it this way, and it shows you again. You do it that way. No, do it this way. No, do it this way. I will punt my controller through the window. Write in words what you want me to do.
All right, does that happen in the beginning?
It happens throughout the game.
Oh, okay.
You learn new farts.
Interesting.
4 farts.
I'm going to play this weekend.
Sweet.
Let us know. Report back.
Okay, Batman Arkham Knight announced this week. There's been rumors, was sort of leaked a little bit.
We've known this was coming forever.
Yeah.
Kevin
You
Conroy.
look at the stats. It's the biggest thing on IGN this week, right? Or was it?
South Park is the biggest thing on
sure.
IGN this week. This has been number 2. This will complete the Arkham trilogy.
From Rocksteady.
Right? From
Rocksteady's
Rocksteady.
Arkham trilogy.
Okay, yeah.
Which doesn't include Origin.
Yeah, last year we got Arkham Origins, which wasn't as well received, but you still liked it a lot.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it didn't, people give it crap because they're like, oh, it doesn't feel like Rocksteady, but I'm like, if they would have hidden who made it, I think not as many people would have complained. It's one of those, when you know someone who made the original isn't behind it, I think there's already a chip on your shoulder. And then for PC and a whole bunch of other people, there were a lot of, not a lot, but there were game-breaking bugs, people falling through the world and crap like that. And some tacked-on multiplayer.
What do you think? You excited?
Oh, yeah, totally. Aren't you?
Yeah.
What I like a lot about it is that it's next-gen only.
Yep.
Guess what, everybody?
That's what I wanted to talk about. I think that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
I think they're leaving a lot of fans out in the cold.
Yeah, I lost the bet to Justin over this. I bet him lunch because I was like, it's got to come to PS3 and Xbox because there's 160 million of those out there, and you're leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
But we're finally in that spot, and Justin said, I don't know. I think we're gonna reach that wall where we hop over and we transition, and everyone behind the walls just kind of left there, and you got to get on the next gen train, otherwise you're missing out.
This year. This fall is going to be the slightly awkward fall where you are going to see some games like Batman that are next gen only, and then some games
one
that
foot
aren't.
in last gen, one foot in
and it
current
really
gen.
is sort of on a case by case basis, a studio by studio basis. Do they have the resources? Because it can't be the same team. It'll have to be a separate, sort of sub team working on the last gen port. So it's can they do that? Rocksteady is not a gigantic company, so that last gen port would have had to be outsourced. Who's going to work on that? I'm sure there was a huge amount of back and forth at WB and Rocksteady, and then eventually they just said, look, this is the vision for the game we're making. It can't support a last-gen console. That's what makes me, I don't know if that's what you were going to say, but that's what makes me so excited.
Yeah, totally. They talk about how many dozens of people can be on the screen now to fight.
Yeah.
When I hear we're going next-gen only, to me that says it wouldn't have been possible to do. We can't just, make it lower-res textures and slap it on the 360.
Sure. As a gamer who will play the game, that makes me very excited that it's current-gen only. But just if I look at it from a business perspective, then I'm like, that's crazy.
It's got to be terrifying.
But I mean, it is, right? And it is terrifying, and there is money they're leaving on the table. But if you think of how successful the consoles have been, Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and then give it another, however many, it's October is what GameStop leaked.
I mean, analysts thought that combined they could sell 30 million consoles this year. So, I mean, that's...
And then you figure this is the one to keep pushing people to do that, right?
Well, you heard, I know it's well outside of the launch window, but it's still delivering something that next-gen gamers want. And when you do that, and if it's high quality, I think we read that Killzone Shadowfall sold over 2 million copies, I think they announced. And, there's only 6 million PS4s out there, and they sold over 2 million copies of that game, and that's partially because they're feeding an audience that's hungry.
Right, they'll buy anything.
Yeah,
in a way, right?
Hungry for content. And I don't know how much that's going to be the case by October, but I think it's going to make the game more appealing to Xbox One and PS4 owners.
I think what you'll be hungry for at that time, right, is a quality experience that's built for that console.
Yeah.
You've already seen your Assassin's Creed up-res version.
And I like that. I respect WB for letting Rocksteady follow through on their vision. They said, "Look, we have a vision for what we want to do with this game. It's going to take us 3 years, and we're not going to be able to do it on last-gen consoles. It has to be next-gen only." And WB. Maybe it was a huge fight. I don't know, but in the end, they ended up saying, "Okay, all right, do what you're going to do," and that has me really hyped.
The Arkham franchise is huge. I wonder if it's strong enough to move consoles, to sell consoles. People are going to be, okay, well now I'm going to get a PS4 because I have to play Batman Arkham Knight.
Well, I think if they do this thing where they say, this is completing a trilogy, and this is where it's kind of strange to leave. A big chunk of the people that played the first parts of the trilogy on past consoles, but they're going to have no choice but to be like, I need to play the next one of those because the last few were fantastic. So it's strange to leave them all behind, but I mean, they're going to have to make the jump eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't put it past that WB Montreal is working on porting the other 3 games, Origin, Arkham, or Asylum, and City all over in one collection that'll get announced at E3. And come out.
That hasn't been confirmed. You're just guessing.
No, yeah, I'm saying don't put it past.
I mean, it makes sense.
And that way, you're like, oh, well, here you go.
Yeah.
What I really like about this one is all the talk they have about the Batmobile and how it's redone their whole city planning and everything. Like they're making the streets wider. Like they're changing the dynamics of the entire game. But it did get me thinking. Like you played Saints Row 4, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how often did you want to drive a car in that game?
Well, I just ran. I used my super speed to go
exactly.
over. I would jump everywhere.
I was thinking the same thing. Fun. They're going to need to. Rocksteady's smart enough that they will figure out a way.
Yeah.
But they're going to need to really make that Mapmobile feel so good and fun that you don't just want to glide.
I imagine it's in controlled instances. Like, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I would think it would be like,
I don't know.
I
assumed it was going to be open. Like,
they did imply that you're basically indestructible in the Batmobile. Like, anybody on the road who's just like, hey, Batman, drive over him.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's going to entice me to get in that car, aside from that it's iconic and awesome, besides just like flying over the city, which is even more fun.
I like how they have to keep coming up with more and more fantastical reasons for the city to be empty of everybody but thugs.
It's Christmas.
Yeah, well, it's Christmas and there's a storm. So
now this time they're evacuating everybody.
Yeah.
The Christmas one was like, so there's literally nobody?
I don't go on Christmas Eve, do you? Go see your family and then go home?
Nobody at all? There's not any Jewish families or somebody that's not celebrating?
No, they all no. Everything's closed.
It's safe that if Batman sees you walking around,
you're dead. It's over.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be a great thing if there was one mission where he dropped in to fight somebody. It's like a family coming home.
We lost our dog.
So they announced a release date in October. It's coming this year.
Did they announce that, or is that what GameStop put on their site?
I thought it was official.
The day of, we were doing Cocos, we were running around like crazy. I remember that we added into the Rewind feeder that's what GameStop said, but that wasn't. I didn't. At the time, I don't think it was confirmed.
I guess I thought it was official, but now you have me doubting.
Well, if GameStop
it's this year for sure.
It's like October 14th. Anyway, my point is, Arkham Origins just came out a year ago. So like, do we worry about? Like, is this another annualized franchise now? Do we get a Batman game every year, and does that lower the quality?
I would like that, but I don't think we will.
You want a Batman game?
Yeah, totally. Everybody got all. I can't believe WB's putting out Origins, and look at all the problems it has. And it was like, this is a great game. I had a great time. It was an awesome story. Like,
I had a lot of. I was right there with you. I had a lot of fun with that game, and I didn't mind that there was one out the year before that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. I mean, I feel like it's sort of different to me than like annualizing. I don't have a problem inherently with annualizing something if the quality is good enough, right? Yeah. Like Assassin's Creed 4 was annualized.
That franchise has always been annualized.
Right. And hasn't the quality suffered? Like, they're not all good, right?
Like, it's kind of on and off. Like, I liked 2, I liked Summer Brotherhood, I liked 4, I hated 3, maybe.
I mean, I think there were 2, so there were Revelations and 3 were not very well received, but the other ones have all been great.
Yeah. So I mean, it's different to me, like to give me like a whole open world game that I can play around in every year. I think it's pretty cool.
You figure the thing is that they're not reinventing the wheel like Assassin's Creed every year. Assassin's Creed's like, here's this new location, here's this new character, here's this, and they're just like, it's Batman, and something else is happening in Gotham, and I'm like, this is the animated series. I watched every.
But they could do that with Batman. I mean, eventually.
It's hard to say. It'll be 20. We're in 2014 now, right?
Yeah.
What year is it?
What year is it?
It'll be 2015 that really tells this tale, because Origins existed because of what I was saying before. Rocksteady said, "Look, our vision for this game is a 3 year. We need 3 years to make this game." And WB said, "Okay, but we can't wait 3 years. We can't rest this franchise for 3 years." And that's where Origins came from.
Yeah.
And so, will they do the same thing, in 2015? Will they say, all right, let's get, is the Origins team working on another sort of side Batman game?
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the way Call of Duty is structured now, and it's now to 3 teams.
3 teams, 3 years each.
Yeah. So there's always one coming out, but it always feels different enough because a new team's working on it.
And I do think, so I didn't like Origins as much as you two. I didn't finish it. And I wonder how much that's mental, because I knew it wasn't Rocksteady.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah, I think if people,
but if you
could hide that.
I didn't think it felt as good. I didn't think I like the story, was really the only part that I did like about it. But what I'm getting at is, like, the first Sledgehammer Call of Duty was really bad too.
Yeah.
And then they eventually got better and better until, like, the B team can kind of in some ways become the A team. And so if they get another crack at it and it can improve and get closer to Rocksteady's, like, ridiculous 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 quality, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I do like that a game gets announced, we see a trailer for it, and we already know that it's coming by the end of the year.
Right, that's really cool.
That's so
really
rare.
cool.
Not like
the Uncharted teaser that you're like, Uncharted.
Right.
Like,
See
what's
ya,
it mean?
peace.
Smash Brothers. Like, oh, that's a logo. Thanks. But I was talking about this, or we were tweeting back and forth about this, but I was like, I'm surprised that we're still not seeing, like, you don't see, like, PS4 gameplay. You don't see next-gen gameplay. Like, in these teaser trailers, it's still all CG. Like, no matter what consoles we get.
That bothers me too.
Yeah.
Like, show me what I can do with this new toy I just bought, Like,
But I think that you're going to see it. It's going to look more like what it looks like.
It's setting tone and mood. Like, I guess I don't necessarily have a problem with it. It's better than passing off. Like, people are now comparing the Watch Dogs 2012 reveal to the footage that's out today, and how much worse the real game looks than sort of the smoke and mirrors from 2012. And it's like, don't do that either. Like, at least this is like, it's a cinematic trailer to give you, like, a taste of the world we're building. And
I mean, the thing about this one is, right, like, I know for a fact you do not have to wait long to know how this game looks and runs. So
that's true.
We'll be reporting incredibly soon on what's happening with this and what it looks like. So they have their first splash and they're all set.
Your Rewind Theater sort of goes over the whole thing, so people should watch that. But you think that there's some interesting timeline stuff going on in this game, right?
It's possible. Like, it's one of the, Rewind Theaters are all about just picking everything apart and trying to figure it out. But I do think that Bruce looks young in this. The cars are dated for sure. There's a license plate that says 1979. It's like, I don't understand exactly what's happening, and there's the whole father to son thing when they're talking over it. Granted, Gotham's always been stylized, right? Especially in, like, the 89 Batman, right? Like, those cars weren't 1989 cars. So I don't look at it and think, well, there you go.
Sure.
I'm more interested that there was rumors before about Hush coming in and being a part of it, right? And then Rocksteady comes out and says that this is the end for them, right? A lot of the people have pointed out that we didn't talk about it in our Rewind, that the whole talk of, the fire and the logo and stuff relates back to Azrael's conversation with Batman in Arkham City. Hush was in Arkham City. I
forgot about that. There's a lot of loose ends.
Exactly. And when they bring these back together, my real guess and what I've been saying and making my prediction is that in this game, similar to how Robin had a cameo in Arkham City, Superman and or Wonder Woman show up. Like, do you need help with this? And he's like, no, get out of here. But that sets up the Justice League game that Rocksteady is then working on after this.
That would be awesome if that was actually just the whole scene. Like, you're playing.
Do you need help? Get out of here. All right.
Come on.
I do love that idea. I really, really hope that this game has, I know it has multiple playable characters, but I hope it has multiple playable characters in the GTA 5 way. I hope you can switch between characters on the fly. Or if not this one, they do a Justice League game where that's how that game works.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. Like,
I think it's the first, like, confirmed like holiday game this year, and, like, the latest game that we know of that's coming this year. The latest, that makes sense. The game with the release date that we know of that's coming the latest this year.
Instantly one of my most anticipated games.
Yes. Yeah. We are very excited for Batman Arkham Knight. This week we put up an article on what was it? The 10 hardest games we've ever played.
Yeah, each editor.
I'm going to see myself out.
Why?
I got to blow my nose, and I wasn't part of this article, so I'll be back.
Okay.
I'm just sitting here sniffling like an idiot.
Don't forget to flip your mic off.
I know how to do it.
Anyway, 10 most difficult games that we played, right?
Yeah, well, it's not exactly. Each editor got to share the game that they had their hardest game ever, and it might have been 10 total. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it was Dark Souls, Battletoads, FTL, Dota 2, and Sword Quest Earthworld. Chuck picked this one. This is an Atari 2600 game.
He's dating himself a little bit.
Yeah, I had an Atari 2600, but I didn't know this.
Never even heard of that game.
It's apparently there were planned 4 games in the series, and it was like a contest.
It's gonna be a whole contest of who
for
can
people
get
who
through them all, and you're gonna win.
There was like a cash prize of like $50,000.
Oh, is it? I don't remember the details. I think it was like a goblet with jewels on it that was going to be valued at $50,000. I might be thinking of something else, but yeah, there was going to be some huge reward at the end.
So that's what, in the mail for somebody? They're waiting for that.
But they never finished it.
Yeah.
Even better. They never finished the series.
Video games.
TMNT on NES, the first initial
The first
game.
one, yeah.
Yeah, I Want to Be the Guy.
Be the guy.
It's I Want to Be the Guy. Mm-hmm. Demon Souls, Jurassic Park on Super Nintendo, and Ghosts and Goblins, which I definitely agree with that one. Yeah. So those are just 10 games that we picked, right?
I do want to point out everybody liked that feature, and everybody shared in the comments what their sort of hardest game was. But some people were mad that we left off games like Contra. This wasn't like a list of these are the hardest games ever. Each editor got to pick one. That was like their like white whale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why, just
Contra, the original Contra?
Yeah.
That's not even the hardest Contra.
It's so hard.
It's very hard. If you're not using the code, like
even if you're using the code,
difficult.
you're going to make it like 2 more levels.
I was friends with crazy people in college that would come over and they just memorized it and they could finish the whole game in like 30 minutes without the 30-man code. But yeah, that's a very hard game without that. I mean, most of the Konami Code games were sort of like you had to play them like that.
Yeah.
Well, Battletoads
is on another level, man. That was my pick.
Yeah.
And like I can't believe like everyone talks about how much they love Battletoads. I'm like, motherfucker, what you love are the first 2 levels of Battletoads because that's all you ever got to play.
It's just that thing when you're a kid, you thought you're bad at games. You're like, oh, I'm too young. I'm not fast enough. I can't think on my feet. And
Right.
you meet kids later like, no, that game was impossible.
Yeah.
You weren't.
Yeah.
We always had some friend with a game genie who thought they had it.
Well, yeah, that was
Once,
clutch.
I think once or twice in my life did I beat that speeder level. Ever. And then you get to the next level and you're like, bah, then the next one's even harder, and then you just die.
It's pretty telling that there's like 3 NES games on this list, right?
Yeah. And there could have been way more.
Ghosts and Goblins, Battletoads.
Yeah, I mean, Ghosts and Goblins was an arcade game.
Yeah.
First.
Sure. The NES version's really hard too, though.
What I want to ask you guys about is like games have gotten easier, right?
Yeah.
Or have developers just gotten better at teaching you how to play the games, introducing the techniques? I don't know. What do you think?
Both.
Yeah.
Both, absolutely. Like, I mean, if you look at like the modern day version of Battletoads would be something like Donkey Kong Country Returns or Rayman, right?
Yeah.
Rayman doesn't have lives. So right out the gate, no lives.
Just
so,
saving your game alone. Make the exact same game that you had before, but let people start the level over instead of start the game over.
Like my memory with Ninja Turtles was me and my friend who lived down the street got to the final boss, and his mom came home with dinner, and when she walked in the room, the NES was on the floor, and it reset.
And you murder her.
Yeah, and then she died, and we ate her. But they don't.
Pizza she brought?
Yeah, what about why didn't you eat the dinner she brought?
I don't remember. We were in such a rage. I don't remember. But we never attempted to get to the end again because it was like, forget it. This is like you can't. I mean, you're not even battling video games at that point. You're battling save states and passwords and batteries and all this other nonsense that nowadays it's just like, oh, it's in the cloud. It's fine. You might like nobody walks in the cloud with dinner and breaks everything.
You know the cloud's not actually up in the sky, right?
It's right in here.
Okay.
I'm looking at it.
There's a lot of hand-holding in games today, right? It's a lot of press A to jump, press forward to walk.
I mean, that's the big jump, right? Or the big joke, right? Is if you were the level 1-1 of Mario, if it were done today, we'd be like, you can press left and right and the A button to jump.
Yeah.
Don't touch that Goomba. And achievement,
Don't touch that.
pops up.
Head left to Toad's item shop for 99 cents. You can get 100 lives. Like they don't. It's very different now.
I do think games are better at... so difficulty used to be an excuse for replayability. Games were short, man. Like, I don't know how long Battletoads was, but a game like Castlevania is 25 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
But you would play it for months.
Because
that's how long it would take you to actually
right.
to memorize patterns.
So that difficulty was value, for your game, for your $50 game, and that's just not necessary anymore. Like,
But there are still hard games today, right?
Yeah.
Like Dark Souls 2 is a game coming out very soon. FTL is another recent game. Like there are still, if that's what you are looking for in a game, I think there are still a lot of examples today.
Yeah, I do think I talk a lot on GameScoop about why I like the indie scene so much, and I do always go back to it though because that democratic nature of it. There's more games coming out than ever before on more platforms, easier to self-publish. That there's something for everybody, like whatever you're into. If you're a little kid that just wants to relax, play something casual. You can play Farmville. The new Mario games make it impossible to die if you die after like 5 times. Or if you really are looking for a hardcore, rewarding experience, like there's that too. Like whatever you want is out there now. It's great.
What do you guys? Do you guys like hard games?
I like challenging or thoughtful ones. Ones that are cheap are the ones that are always like, okay, no thanks.
Like,
right?
well, so what's an example?
When we think about it.
Okay.
Well, like here's the thing. You just named. You just nailed it basically. Like the
You nailed it.
The genres we have now, the opportunities we have now, make it actually like it's easier to give up on games because you can go. I don't need this. I can play a game on my phone, or I can play something else somewhere else. Like it's when I was a kid, I got Battletoads. And I had Battletoads. And when people ask me what games you have, I would say Battletoads.
Like if you rented it, and that was your game for the weekend,
for a
and you
week,
picked the wrong game, it's like, well,
yeah. There's another thing. Like if you get stuck, you're just stuck.
It's either that or you didn't play video games. You went outside. Nobody wants to do that.
Like I got stuck in Star Tropics, and there was no internet yet, and I just never. That was it forever.
Yeah, like I died a bunch of times in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Returns recently, or Tropical Freeze Tropical Returns, and it doesn't matter. And what did I do? I was like, screw this, I'm going to go play more South Park.
Right.
And I did that, and I don't know if I'll go back to Donkey Kong now. Something will have to like entice me to do that.
So it's like,
what?
Are you going to do it again?
No, I'll leave when I blow my nose. By the way, if you've ever watched someone get sick, it's right now. Right now, I walked in fine, and now I'm like all...
It's happening.
And it's
Are you
like
sick?
fucking Jared Petty. Yeah, you're watching it happen right now.
Does that mean we're getting sick too?
It means you were exposed at the exact same time I was. Coco was a nightmare of a bunch of sick people like, I have to come in because it's Coco. And now here I am.
The thing about game difficulty is that
What?
I lost it. I had a good challenging thing. Oh, South Park. There's a couple of battles in South Park where you actually have to think through what you're doing and do things in the right order and do everything correctly. And that's challenging. It wasn't cheap. I wasn't feeling like I was getting screwed over. I liked that.
Yeah.
Whereas Last of Us, Left Behind, the last battle you have to go through is just like, go to hell.
And I like that about South Park because I died 5 or 6 times, and I was like, damn, this is hard. And then Greg and I are like, how did you beat this guy? How'd you? I use this. I use that. And I'm like, man, this makes me feel like I'm in 3rd grade again. Like, because I'm talking. I mean, I wasn't texting him in 3rd grade. No one invented that yet. But I'm talking to my friends about strategies and stuff like that. And there's always one kid at school who's a liar who's like, oh, if you could turn into a frog and beat the highest boss. And you're like, you're an idiot.
But then you beeped your friend Greg to find out what.
And I like that, but I don't like just making something impossible just to be like, it's impossible. There's people that play impossible games and they brag about it. You're cool, but you're also crazy.
You never want it to be the game's you want it to feel like it's your fault when you lose, not the game's
like
fault.
a good example of it, just like for no reason, Heavy Rain, that thing where you're driving the car and like button prompts are coming up like 2 seconds. You're like, what the hell do you want me to do here?
Yeah. And the reason that was tough is because there's nothing that leads up to that moment.
Yeah, all of a sudden,
like,
bam,
hey,
here's
it's crazy
this
town.
new thing. Yeah.
That's what I read a big essay about how smart level 1-1 in Mario is, that it teaches you everything you need to know, that the Goomba's coming at you on the first screen, and so you will die if you don't move. And so it's like, that's tutorial without being like, hey man, you have a run and a jump.
Yeah.
Like you will press buttons to avoid this thing that's coming at you, or it teaches you, let's say you don't press anything. By pressing nothing, it teaches you that when this thing touches you, you die.
Yep, sure.
And on the game now, would have a thing pops up that says, Mario, Mario.
You want to learn how to jump, you can collect. Yeah,
that's
too much.
It's a great YouTube video that talks about Mega Man that way. Mega Man.
But people call it, like,
Ego Raptor,
when I complain about hard games, people in the comments, they go, oh, you're a baby, man up, or you suck at games. I'm like, all right, well, maybe I suck at games, if that's what it is. But I can go and play 7 other games in the amount of time it'll take you to master one and call me a baby.
Sure. That's the thing you always expose yourself to as a critic, is docking a game points or criticizing a game for being too hard. You're opening yourself up to all kinds of vitriol in the comments. And I'm like, there's a difference between good hard and bad hard.
Right.
And in my opinion, a game like Call of Duty on Veteran is bad hard. Like, it's just not... like, if someone wants to do it, if you don't buy a lot of video games, or you're that dedicated, or you're that excellent at the game, sure, go through on Veteran. But I don't consider it fair or fun. Like, it's too much.
But that's why one of my newest favorite things, just to close this off, in video games nowadays, is that they put difficulty sliders.
Yeah.
And I can pop in, I can be like, I'm going from hard to normal. Yep. You know what? I'm going to drop down to easy, finish this boss fight, finish the game.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I totally agree. That's what I loved about Elder Scrolls. Any game that lets you adjust difficulty on the fly.
Yeah.
And then, like, when a game lets you do it, it's like, why not? Sometimes it'll be like, if you start on this difficulty, you're stuck in there for the whole game. The warning pops up at the beginning. I'm like, why?
Trophies,
why not?
achievements.
But, like, why not just let people slide up and down on their own?
Well, I think that for trophies and achievements, right, it's to make you stick it out to get that honor of having that achievement.
Yeah, I just think the implementation in some games is better than others.
100%.
Like in Halo, you can, like, let's say you do everything on Legendary, but you're like, I cannot beat this level, I'm going to drop it down. All you have to do is beat that one level on Legendary. If you did all the other ones, then you still get the Legendary achievement. You can do them in your own order.
Yeah.
I have been totally spoiled now, because like when we were kids, if I got stuck on a level or a boss or something, I would try over and over again. I would spend like all day trying to get past that. But now, if I fail or die like 3 times, I'm like, fuck this.
Yep.
I'm totally done with this game.
We've for sure gotten soft.
Yeah.
I died once in Bravely Default and was mad.
Yeah. You also can just pop on the internet and be like, how do I beat boss?
That's true, yeah.
Which back in the day was
It's
like,
babby form.
back in the day it's like, well, Nintendo Power comes out in 6 weeks. I hope it's got
Hope for the classified information.
yeah, I hope there's one square. How do
about
I
this game.
beat the Red Wizard?
Okay, Greg.
Yeah.
You had a big scoop this week.
Mitch did, yeah.
Amy Hennig leaving Naughty Dog.
Right after she just celebrated 10 years there, writer, creative director on most of the on all of the Uncharted's varying roles there between writer and creative director.
Now, confession.
Yeah,
I had never heard of this person before.
that's fine. You don't follow games, I understand.
But so, like, tell us why is this a big deal?
I mean, she was like the creative force behind Uncharted.
Okay.
When you think of like the Uncharted stories and stuff, don't get me wrong, teams, dozens of people giving input, but she's like the one they always pointed to, like, this is her job, is to make the Uncharted stories.
Yeah.
And since people are drawn to Uncharted, usually for the characters, for the stories, that's all of a sudden the crazy thing that on the, not eve of Uncharted PS4.
Well, so I wonder if she finished her work
Yeah.
on Uncharted PS4. Like, did she just write the story and then...
Yeah,
Or is she not the one doing it?
No, she was working on it from what we understand, and that's why Sony put out this statement saying that, yep, she's left. This won't influence the development timeline of the new Uncharted.
It feels weird that their press release statement for Jack Tretton and then what they had for Amy Hennig in the same week was just sort of like, I mean, in our story, it was like she was forced out. I mean, Jack Tretton was not forced out.
No.
Right.
Well, and we also don't know, you know, we have our sources that tell us things, and then sometimes you hear contradictory things from different people, but that's our understanding of it, is that there was some office politicking going on.
Yeah, the story we put up right is that she left, and then that allegedly Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley, who are the guys behind The Last of Us, had some hand in quote-unquote forcing her out, and that's from multiple sources for Mitch's article. For me personally, someone who, again, has covered PlayStation forever and knows all of these people, that sounds crazy. Neil and Bruce are awesome dudes, like awesome developer people to talk to about the industry, about what they do. They love what they do. Now, in that same breath, so is Amy. Like, don't get me wrong, I hate Justin. We work together fine, though.
It doesn't show on camera.
But, I mean, like, it's one of those things, obviously, if there's always conflict at any job. But, like, you know what I mean? If me and Damon are mad at each other, hopefully that doesn't come through on the camera, so you can't be like, oh, yeah, well, Game Scoop. They seem so close in Game Scoop. You know?
They hate each other for years.
I mean, it's hard to know. Like, maybe it's something, again, this is speculation on my part, but maybe it's something like, hey, we think Uncharted 4 is going in a really bad direction.
Yeah.
Let's talk to the bosses. And then it becomes this weird conflict.
And then then it snowballs what the actual, you know what I mean? It's not like they're like literally Neil Druckmann is like stroking his beard and Straley's growing a new beard to stroke, and they're sitting there going like, we gotta eliminate Amy, you know what I mean? But maybe it was that they went in and were like, we don't like this, that, and the other, and they're like, you're right, and then
or maybe like sources are all wrong.
Exactly. That's the other thing too. How many people are the sources who are saying this but weren't in that room? Like this is where it gets really complicated and really shitty, because there's no else to put it, right? Is the fact that the sources who said all this aren't these people necessarily. I don't know, right, who all our sources are, which is how we need it to be. But then the people who are directly influenced, how do they make a statement about that without violating the Amy's right to privacy and Naughty Dog's confidentiality? Like, there's so many things tied up now that it sucks to say, but like, will we ever know really what happened here? I don't know. No. I don't think you will, and that's really shitty.
I mean, I do. Go ahead.
I was going to say, but you think that most of the, like, her contributions and groundwork to Uncharted 4 are complete?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I can't say that. I don't know.
Because to me, it seemed...
I would have guessed. I mean, a creative director's work wouldn't have been done at this point.
You don't think so?
Yeah. I mean,
because
by saying that, right, you're saying then that everything is in the can. like
story-wise.
Exactly, and performance-wise, right? Like there's video of her, like it's like fucking handycam shit. She's on set, like just like Neil was with Last of Us, walking Ashley and Troy through it. There's video from Uncharted 3 and 2 and 1 of her doing the same thing with Emily Rose, with Nolan North, and whoever you imagine is in that game, she's still doing that.
Yeah, because that's a big part of it, is basically seeing that vision through all the way to the end.
Right,
well.
yeah. You're creative director, being a director at Naughty Dog is, I don't understand all of the industry, don't get me wrong. It's different, though, for being a director on some other game. You are literally directing actors. They're in full-body mocap suits. They're doing that whole thing where they play around with each other in the unitards and try to figure out.
Well, you're the one, like, there's other writers and other people, but like, you're the one that has the vision in your head.
Right.
Like, it's your project, and to lose that, I mean, in my opinion, look, I'm super excited about Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
I do think this is bad news.
Yeah, what's weird is that we've lost the creative director, but we're still on the same development timeline.
Right.
That's weird to me. But now, granted, they've said here's Uncharted PS4 is coming. Here's a teaser trailer with no gameplay and one voice.
It's a little bit of a meaningless statement because we don't know what the development timeline was.
It's going to come out in 2020, and they're going to be like, "Oh, that's what we had all from day one. That's what we planned."
I'm not saying that the game is in trouble or it's shaky or it's going to be delayed. I'm just saying the talent of Amy. Like if you go back, she did Legacy of Kain, all of those games before this.
That's really old school.
Yeah.
But that's what she did. She did the first Blood Omen and then the other Legacy of Kain games, and those were incredibly written. Like the stories in those games were memorable and just fantastic. Like some of the best video game stories ever. And then she came to she came to Naughty Dog, and you can see the mark that she left on Naughty Dog. So I do think that this is a blow to lose her from the studio. But that doesn't necessarily mean like, look, there's all kinds of people that aren't Amy Hennig writing incredible games. Right. So I'm not down on Uncharted 4. But if you look at like her career, like she makes a real impact on the project that she is a part of.
Yeah,
it definitely makes the first PS4 Uncharted feel like a new era for the franchise, right?
And that's the interesting thing. Like in our story, we talk about the fact that that allegedly Neil and Bruce Forster are out, and allegedly they're picking up the slack now, or maybe overseeing it or something. So to have those guys who were part of the Uncharted 2 team, and then went on to do their own thing with The Last of Us, then now to come back to PS4 Uncharted, maybe it will feel totally different. Maybe. We talked about, me and Colin always have these debates, if Drake's in the game or how's this going to go, and yada yada. Who knows what that means now that there's this Uncharted thing and we don't know. It's got no subtitle. We don't know who's in it. Maybe it isn't.
I mean, there was some speculation that with the direction that the team took with The Last of Us, that because Uncharted was sort of stylistically campier, that may be what they're trying to get away from here. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe Uncharted 4 is hardcore, insanely murderous. Like, who knows?
I mean, that's exactly right. It's impossible without being there in the room. We can only speculate, but it could be something as innocuous as that. As like the direction that game was going was just different, right? Or maybe they wanted it to go in a different direction, and they wanted to make 4 like 1, 2, 3. Like who knows? Maybe it could be. I said it was bad news, and it's hard to know for sure. But I guess it's just bad news in the sense that Amy was so talented.
Right. Well, you don't want to hear anybody losing their job or leaving the place, or you know what I mean?
Leaving under bad terms. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Little tidbit, I looked her up on Wikipedia to see. I didn't know what she did before Legacy of Kain. That was the first time she came into my awareness. Her first project that she headed up, like herself, was Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
So there's that.
That explains why she's so good at slam dunking.
Sure.
All right, before we go today, let's check in with the listeners.
Hey, listeners.
Hey, listeners.
Listeners, remember you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com, just like Steven Santana did. He's a longtime fan.
Carlos Santana's son.
Yep. He has a problem. His friends don't like pixel art.
Again.
They can get fucked.
Right? If your friends don't like pixel art, I don't know if they're really your friends, Steven. He says, I tried to show my friends Hyper Light Drifter. You guys know this game?
No.
Yeah.
It's been Kickstarted. It was successfully Kickstarted. We have footage of it up here.
Here it is.
I actually wasn't familiar with it either, but it looks awesome. Reminds me of Transistor and Bastion.
Yeah.
Zelda.
Yeah. So it's, great looking pixel art game. He says, I'm super excited for it. My friends don't get it. The pixel art style was the most jarring thing, and they didn't seem interested or understand why I thought it looked so good. I'm not saying it's a bad thing they think this way, but I couldn't figure out how to explain to them why I love pixel art games like Hotline Miami and Fez. Help me, GameScoop, you're my only hope.
I mean, the vocabulary to describe art is challenging, right? Like, how can I describe to somebody why I like a Van Gogh painting? I just do. Like, it speaks to me. Like, pixel art just speaks to me. Part of it's definitely nostalgia.
Yeah.
for sure.
I thought it was. I don't think it's just nostalgia because it's so prevalent today in indie games and that scene. Like,
I don't know.
So I can tell you exactly why I love pixel art, and that's because some of my favorite art is the stuff that's created under like this sort of defined rule set and constraints, and finding creativity within those boundaries.
Sure, the limitations.
Sure, like that's very important to me. Is to say, this is only happening in graffiti, or this is only happening in watercolor, or cubism, or pointillism, or something like that. To me, pixel art is saying, what can we make with these squares? Right? Like, can we make Batman? Can we make Superman? Can we make...
And you can make anything, and it will look awesome.
Right, and then we've seen even like the most minimalist, like people have taken these things that are like a stack of 4 pixel arts, and they've been like, it's 4 pixels, and they're like, this is every Street Fighter character, and these 4 pixels. Or Mega Man, or something like that. And that's incredibly inspiring to me, is to take something and to reduce it down to its absolute most minimalist, and still find a way to be expressive within that.
So it started out as restriction. They used that art style because the hardware was restricted back in the day, right?
Right.
And I think that's really cool that they figured out how to make increasingly detailed images using just pixels. But today, it's a stylistic choice.
Yeah,
right.
So
That's why I do think...
It's not like this game looks bad. They chose to do it that way, just like the new Sin City 2 trailer is out today, and it's in black and white.
Yeah.
But it's not like, that's not a hindrance.
I don't watch black and white movies.
It's a stylistic choice.
But like we all grew up watching awesome action, adventure, and sci-fi movies and monster movies that had makeup and grotesque puppetry and all this other stuff that was man-made. And then we reached the point where we're like, oh, we'll just make Yoda CG.
Yeah.
And that's like saying, I don't watch movies unless it's CG. If you're like, oh, that's clearly something somebody made. It's
clearly
like, no, yeah, I mean, we reached the point where you can do better with technology, but it doesn't mean you always should.
Yeah.
There's definitely backlash against that. Right?
Yeah.
Like, people want to return to practical effects. I do think my favorite pixel art anecdote is that the only reason Mario has a mustache is because they didn't have enough pixels to, like, define a nose and a mouth, that like define a face. So by giving him the mustache, that separated out his face, and that let him look the way that he looks. They designed Mario 1 levels on graph paper.
I just think that I look at something like that, and
it's awesome.
It's
look how rad that is.
That looks beautiful now. It would have looked beautiful 15 years ago, and it'll look beautiful 15 years from now.
I do think,
but like I don't think like Gears of War 2 will, or something that was just like very of its time. Like you can fight for realism and modern games, and I think there's a great push for that, and I think it's awesome to have that kind of stuff. But something like this is timeless to me, like, and I want this to never go away.
That's why I like Wind Waker so much.
Yeah, I mean not pixel, but yeah, it looks great.
I think when I say nostalgia, like I sometimes think people poo-poo that, or like I don't mean it in a bad way. Like nostalgia matters, man. Like it makes people feel good. It makes me feel good. Like when I hear the Zelda chimes or like the Final Fantasy, like overture, like that's memories from like me as a kid. That's been with me my whole life. Like that's important. That means something to me. And it makes me feel good. And like pixel art makes me feel good for that same reason. Like we're getting very, very close to like hiring kids at IGN that are too young to have played in that era. Like the PS1 will have been the first thing that they had a lot of exposure to. And my gut reaction might be to be like mad if they don't have like a passion for pixel art. But like I totally get it. Like I feel like the only reason I do is because I grew up with it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's why I like this stuff, because these kids that we hire today get to play a game like this.
Brian Albert.
Yeah, and it's and it all just gets meshed in with all the other games they're playing, and like that's pretty awesome to me that something like that can still exist.
And I do think that's why there is such a pixel art movement in the indie scene. Part of it might be practical, because they're the only people that don't have budgets to do 3D stuff necessarily. But I don't think it's mostly that. I think it's mostly the nostalgia value and fond memories of Super Metroid and Zelda, and wanting to put their mark on it and recreate that themselves.
Sure.
I think it's ugly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you really think
No,
that?
I
just didn't know if you were going to be a contrarian.
No. I don't do that crap.
Yeah, we love pixel art. Steven, just show your friends this video.
Did you know I'm writing a pixel art feature? It's going up in a couple weeks.
I didn't know that, but I love that.
An appreciation of pixel art
That's
and
great.
why it's awesome.
I look forward to reading it.
Pixel art is cool by Justin Davis. Did you know pixel art is cool?
Here are the 6
I'm
reasons
Justin
why
Davis.
I like
Top 100 pixels.
We should do that one. That's all the time we have this week. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Brian. Remember, you can always reach us at the email address, gamescoop@ign.com. My name is Damon. This is IGN Gamescoop, and we're out.